Hi guys, Josh here, and in this video, I'll be sharing with you 10 things I wish I knew earlier in Fantasy Life I, the girl who steals time. You'll hear various tips and tricks that should make your experience more enjoyable if you're just getting started. If you learned something new, feel free to leave a like on the video and let's begin. Let's start by talking about one of the new lives, Farmer. After unlocking this life in Chapter 4, you will be able to buy seeds from Marco at the Guild Hall. And it took me a while to realize that seeds can be purchased with either Dosh, the main currency, or Celestia's Gift, which are the flowers that spawn each day on your island and that you receive by doing the daily activities. Speaking of daily activities, they're not your usual dailies that are limited. As far as I know, they are infinite. As soon as you finish one, you get a new one. So make sure to have a look at the activities app on your WeirdPad every time you see this green exclamation mark. Back to our seeds, there's not necessarily a better or worse currency to buy them in. It all depends on your goals and what you're saving for. But keep in mind, unless you're cooking, you likely won't be making a lot of dosh by selling crops. In fact, you will barely break even if you are lucky enough to get seeds and rare crops in your harvest. Instead, crops are mostly used in Janormosia, where you will find these stalls called error shops. You can put your veggies in there and they will get sold automatically over time. You can keep track of your sales on the map, and when you come back to the Ever Shop, you will collect cash nuts, the currency used to buy items and recipes from Dawn the Traveling Merchant, and the traders in the various settlements. Back to the base camp, the farmer life lets you have up to 8 farm plots. The game teaches you how to farm, it tells you that crops grow in real time, but it is being very vague about how long it takes, so I took it into my own hands to experiment, and here's what I found. First, whenever you enter the base camp, the game checks for the status of your crops, and if it's been over 30 minutes, they will get an update, so they'll either grow or wilt. Going in and out of a house will work, or coming back from another map, but if you just stand there and try to watch them grow, they won't. So if you plant seeds and come back 30 minutes later, they will grow into seedlings. Leave and come back another 30 minutes after that, and they will be fully grown. But if you plant seeds and let's say you only come back after 3 hours, they won't be fully grown, they will still be seedlings since they only updated once, if that makes sense. This is good actually because if they kept updating while you're gone, they would wilt. So if you want your crops to grow as fast as possible, you should check on them every 30 minutes, and make sure to water them once during each stage if you don't want them to wilt. I have noticed that seeds will sprout even without water, so at first glance you might think they're okay if you miss a watering, but if you skip either one of the 2 growth stages, there is an increased chance that your veggies won't make it. Other little details you may want to know: crops don't grow while you're not playing, they don't wilt if they're fully grown, so you can keep them for aesthetics if you want, and they are not linked to the in-game day and night cycle, so you can't speed things up by sleeping or anything like that. No matter what time it is, one thing you will be doing a lot of in Fantasy Life is fast travel. It is pretty convenient to open the map and choose a place to go, but if you get annoyed by the little animation of your character looking up for Skelegon, there are a few shortcuts you should know. If you open the life menu, which by default is right on the D-pad, you can select any of the lives you have and press this button, Y in my case, to teleport instantly to its life master. Most will bring you to Eternia, but the farmer will bring you to Faraway Island and the artist to Tropica Isles. You can't go everywhere with this method, but depending on the situation, it will save you some time since it skips the Skelegon animation. Similarly, if you press the confirm button on the crafting life, it will offer to teleport you to the nearest workbench, which can be a great way to get out of a cave, or if in Janormosia, to return to one of the settlements. It might seem like a small thing, but it's hard to go back once you get used to doing it this way. Another way to take advantage of the fast travel is with the teleportation gate. This lets you travel from anywhere to your last location in Janormosia, but because of the animation, I never found it to be much better or faster than Skelegon, and so I never used it. But one of you told me a really good use for it in a comment. If you want to farm a certain resource, you need a lot of something, but it's deep inside a cave or an area that you can't quickly leave and come back to reset. That is when you can open your WeirdPad and use the gate. It will bring you to Janormosia where you can use it again, and you'll be right back where you were with all of the resources ready for you. While we're on the WeirdPad, I know there is the command listed at the bottom of the screen here, but if I didn't notice it, I'm most likely not the only one. You can actually rearrange the apps. So if you find yourself using the teleportation gate a lot, instead of having it on the second page, it could be a good idea to put it on the first one instead. I rearranged mine with everything I use regularly on the first page. I put things like the log, the player history, and options on the second page since I don't use these so much. So you can play around with that and find what works for you. That is not the only thing that the game tells you that I somehow completely missed for so long. In the Recipes app or at a workbench, if you press the left trigger, it will tell you where to find each material. It will say the exact shop, the monsters that drop it. If it's a fish, you will get the size of the shadow to look for. This is a game changer. Most shops carry different items, and I wasted so much time going through all of the shops for a specific item when I could have just looked at this menu and go straight to the correct place. If you've never seen the item, some of the information won't show up, but you may still have some hints like that it's a monster drop in that location. Before that, I used to check the encyclopedia located in the Activities app. This says where to find monsters and resources, but only lists their primary location, which is not as useful as all the details that are under material info. If you already know where your stuff is, you're a blacksmith with a ton of ores, or a carpenter with so many logs, but you can't figure out how to get the recipes to make ingots and lumber. In that case, you need to rank up. Some recipes are found in shops, so it is a good habit to check all of them, but the most important ones for crafting lives will be obtained from ranking up. This is done through all the life challenges, so if you're ever feeling stuck because you're missing a recipe, that's probably it. As you rank up and level up your crafting lives, you will unlock auto-crafting in the skill board. It can be very tempting to use it all the time, and I certainly did at first, especially when I had to make those basic materials such as ingot and lumber. I thought there's no quality level for those, it should be fine, but that was a mistake. With things like materials, being efficient in the minigame will increase the quantity of items produced, sometimes by more than double. For example, here I made 10 lumber via autocraft and I got, of course, 10. Right after, I crafted 10, but this time manually, went through the minigame, which didn't take too long since it was an easier item, and I received 25 instead. With food, it is the same where you can get larger quantities, but here the quality level comes into play as well, so if you do well in the minigame and your crafting ability is high enough, you can make a top quality product. If you see requests asking for something plus, like a mushroom quiche plus, that's what it is, so you won't get it through autocrafting. There can certainly be cases where it's convenient to autocraft, but if you want higher quality or quantity, doing it yourself is always best. Unless you have the crafting buddy. You can request things from them at a workbench, and it works very similarly to autocraft as it skips the minigame, but depending on their ability, they will be able to craft a large haul and even top quality items. I find that they typically need to be of a higher ability than if I was to do the minigame myself, but they can do it. So if you're a carpenter, you might think it's useless to request something from a carpenter buddy, but it's not. Of course, you will also want buddies with lives different than yours to do the things you can't, and one good way to find a lot of strangelings is by completing the shrines in Janormosia. Once they're back in their human form, you can then level them up by having them in your party, which can be changed with Boyle at the guild hall or the towers in Janormosia. Buddies will catch up to you in no time, and their affinity will slowly build up, unlocking more of their skills. You can also improve your affinity by interacting with them regularly at the base camp. These buddies are not always the most efficient or the smartest, but if you find them completely useless, it might be because you forgot to give them equipment. By default, just like with your own character, they will have their rented equipment, which is practically nothing. So make sure they have a proper tool or weapon. You can do that through the equipment menu if the buddy is in your party formation, and if it's a crafting buddy, you can also do it right before crafting. You may have noticed how, even though a buddy has a different life than yours, they are gaining experience no matter what. You could be chopping trees, and the cook who's watching and cheering you on is still leveling up. Luckily for us, this works the other way around as well. If there is a new life that you want to level up quickly, go out with some gathering buddies, ask them to get resources, make sure you stay in the life you want to level up, and you will gain experience. This will be even better if you're playing online with real friends, since buddies can be a bit slow, but as long as you're with a group, you will gain experience no matter what life you're in. If you still want to be useful, one thing you can do is give your friends potions. I did not know you could do that for a long time because I mostly used potions from the shortcut wheel, but if you go in your inventory and select use, you will have the option to give it to any character in your party. So let's say you're working on a boss and everybody's struggling with their SP, one player can stay behind, take care of just giving potions. They'll make it easier for everyone and still gain experience. Lastly, this is more just a general advice, but a lot of people have been asking, what is the best life to start with? Honestly, there's no right or wrong here, as eventually, you find buddies that can do the things you can't. But unless you're looking for a challenge, I would strongly recommend picking a combat life at the beginning before you go back to the present to continue the story. Whenever you go out, even if it's just for fishing, you will stumble upon enemies, and you actually have a kind of default life called Brand New, which works as a combat life, but it only lets you fight with a branch, and that is not very powerful. So I would suggest one proper combat life. Then as a general rule, crafting lives are good to make equipment and money, but they're also not necessary for money. I've made most of mine just by selling weapons and tools from chests and monsters, and then gathering lives complement the crafting ones well. So for example, woodcutter and carpenter make a great combination. In the end though, there's really no restriction and you can do well with any of them. You can do all the lives at the same time, you can start with a few, see what you like, what you don't. You can focus on a specific one, generally it is easier when you have more, but it all depends on what you're looking for and you can't mess up. By the way, as you play you will find that so many NPCs have requests for you. If you're feeling overwhelmed by the number of them, or you end up accepting some that seem too difficult, remember that those with blue bubbles are for lives you don't have, and the white bubbles are requests for the lives that you do have. You can also give up on a quest with the left trigger in the quest menu, and it will go back to the NPC so you can accept it later, and it will make your list look cleaner in the meantime. Alright, so these are just a few of the things I wish I knew when I started playing Fantasy Life I, the girl who steals time. I am working on many more guides and videos for this game. Let me know if you'd like to see something in particular, feel free to share your tips in the comments, leave a like and subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you all in the next video.